Let's talk about SMART goals. The first part of a SMART goal is the S, and S stands for specific. M is for measurable. A is for achievable. R is for relevant. And T is for timed. SMART goals need to have all 5 characteristics: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timed. Let's look at an example goal. Mr. Smith will do his physio exercises. Now, is this goal SMART? Is it specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timed? Specific? Not really. Measurable? No. Achievable? We're not sure. Relevant? Does it apply to his real life? Not necessarily. And timed? No, there's no timeline. So this is not a SMART goal. Let's look at a better goal. Mr. Smith will see the PTA for 15 minutes daily to do strength exercises to improve his ability to get out of bed independently by the time he is discharged in 4 days. So we could edit this one to be a little bit better. So if we said Mr. Smith will see the PTA for 15 minutes of strength exercises daily and be able to safely get out of bed independently by the time he is discharged in 4 days. So this one is kind of 2 goals, but let's see if it's SMART. So first off, is it specific? So we can see that Mr. Smith will be seeing the PTA for 15 minutes of strength exercises every day. So that is specific. Is it measurable? So we can determine, did Mr. Smith see the PTA for 15 minutes? And can he safely get out of bed independently? So these are things that we can measure. Is it achievable? Well, it is possible to see Mr. Smith for 15 minutes, and the strength exercises were part of his care plan. So we know that these are realistic, achievable things to pursue. Is it relevant? Now, to determine if this is a relevant goal, we would need to know what matters to Mr. Smith, but we can assume for the purposes of this example that it is important to Mr. Smith to be able to get out of bed on his own. So it would be relevant. And is it timed? By the time he's discharged in 4 days gives us a specific timeline that we can go by, so we'll know if the goal was achieved or not, and we have a time that it's expected to be achieved by. So this goal does have specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timed characteristics. So yes, it is a SMART goal. So let's look in a little more detail at what these characteristics mean. So specific means, what is the goal? Is it specifically something that we can pursue? Measurable, how do you know if it's achieved? Achievable, is it reasonable? Is it compatible with the treatment plan that's been outlined by the OT or the PT? Is it relevant? So does the goal matter to the client? Is it relevant to the client's actual life? And timed, when is the goal expected to be achieved? Now let's look at a couple more examples to determine if these are SMART goals. Mr. Smith will be able to walk on his own someday. Mr. Smith will cooperate with the therapists. Mr. Smith will make his best effort in tomorrow's PT session. No, these are not SMART goals. So as you can see, they're missing some or maybe all of the characteristics that we look at to determine if a goal is SMART. So these are not specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, or timed goals. So these would not be considered SMART goals, and these are not the type of goals that we would want to write in a care plan. All the goals in a patient's care plan and in the charting that you do should be SMART goals. So a SMART goal might be something that you put in the plan section of a SOAP note, or it might be something that you put on the treatment plan when you do charting to describe what the therapist assistant will be working on. Make sure that all of your goals are specific so that you've outlined clearly what the goal is. They're measurable so you'll know whether or not the goal has been achieved. Make sure they're achievable so they're compatible with the treatment plan that the occupational therapist or the physiotherapist has written up. Make sure they're relevant to the client, things that matter to the client's life. So that means the goals are based on a client-centered perspective rather than being goals that are for you as a therapist assistant. So in the example that we looked at of something that was not a SMART goal, things like the patient making the best effort or participating for a certain number of minutes, those things are not relevant to the client's life. So make sure that your goals are actual practical things that matter to the client. And again, timed. Make sure that all of your goals have a deadline for when you expect to achieve them. And then you can go at that date and determine if the goals were or were not achieved and modify them as needed. Make sure all your goals are SMART goals.